Quick question. Is $19.99 closer to $19 or $20? If you said $19, even for half a second before your logical brain caught up and corrected you, you just proved the exact thing this video is about. And here's the uncomfortable part. Knowing the trick doesn't stop it from working on you. My name is Kai Cash, and I spend way too much time thinking about tiny, invisible design choices that quietly shape how we spend money. If you've ever wondered why every price ends in 0.99, stick around. The reason is stranger than you think. Subscribe to see the mechanics behind the prices you see every day. Most people think it's just a marketing gimmick, a little psychological nudge, mildly influencing some people. That's technically true, but it massively understates what's happening. This isn't a mild nudge. It's a measurable, repeatable exploit of how your brain processes numbers, tested and deployed for over a century because it works with frightening consistency. Think of it like reading a sentence. Your brain doesn't process every letter individually. It grabs the first few letters and fills in the rest, predicting the whole word. Most of the time, this works fine. Occasionally, you misread a word entirely because your brain jumped to a conclusion too fast. Pricing works almost exactly the same way, except your brain grabs the leftmost digit of a number and builds its sense of value from that single digit,
before the rest of the price even registers. Here's the mechanism, and it has an actual name. Researchers call it left-digit bias, measured in study after study for decades. When you see $19.99, your brain processes the 1 and 9 first, encoding the price as being in the $19 range. That encoding happens faster than the full number can process. By the time your slower thinking catches up and does the math, the impression, cheap, a bargain, has already formed. You're not doing anything wrong or being gullible.
This is simply how numerical cognition works, and retailers have known it far longer than consumers have. Let's look at how big this effect actually is. The numbers are more dramatic than you'd expect. Dropping a price from $20 to $19.99, a difference of 1 single cent, can increase sales more than dropping the price all the way to $19.50. Read that again. A 1 cent difference outperforming a 49-cent difference. If pricing were purely rational, that makes no sense. But once you understand left-digit bias, it makes perfect sense. The 1 cent drop crosses a digit boundary, from a 2 to a 1. The 49-cent drop doesn't cross any boundary at all. The size of the discount barely matters. The digit that changes matters enormously. Here's the part that will genuinely surprise you. This effect doesn't fade with practice or awareness, the way you'd expect a simple trick to fade. Studies tested people who were told exactly how the effect works, warned in advance, and asked to evaluate prices immediately afterward. The bias still showed up, just slightly weaker than in people who weren't warned at all. Understanding the mechanism intellectually and having your brain not use it automatically are two completely different things. And that gap is exactly why this pricing strategy has survived over 100 years of consumers becoming more educated. I'll be honest, I used to think I was immune to this, mostly because I knew about left-digit bias going in. Then I caught myself doing something revealing. I was comparing two nearly identical products online. One priced at $29.99, one at $31. I mentally filed the first one as significantly cheaper, even though the actual difference was about $1. When I actually did the subtraction instead of trusting my gut, the real gap was almost nothing. My brain had already made the decision before the calculator got involved. I only caught it because I was paying unusually close attention. Here's a before and after most people never think about. Before you understand left-digit bias, a price tag feels like a neutral piece of information. After you understand it, you realize the price tag was designed and tested, specifically to produce a gut reaction before your rational mind votes. The number itself didn't change. What changed is whether you're aware a decision is already being made, in the split second before you consciously think about it. And here's another one. Before, comparing prices feels like a simple, objective task. Just look at the numbers and pick the lower one.
After, you realize your brain isn't comparing the full numbers. It's comparing leading digits and treating that comparison as the whole picture. Two nearly identical prices can feel wildly different, depending purely on which side of a round number they fall. Now, here's where people usually take this the wrong way. This isn't about becoming paranoid over every price tag, or assuming every 0.99 price is a scam against you personally. Retailers aren't doing anything illegal or sinister here. They're using a well-documented feature of human cognition.
The same way a good teacher uses repetition. The problem isn't that this technique exists. The problem is not knowing it's influencing you every time. The fix isn't complicated, but it requires a small, deliberate habit instead of your gut reaction. When comparing prices, especially bigger purchases, round both numbers to the nearest whole dollar first. $19.99 becomes $20. $29.99 becomes $30. This tiny half-second habit routes the comparison through slower thinking, instead of letting your fast, leading-digit brain make the call. So next time you're in front of two price tags or scrolling two nearly identical products online, do the rounding before you trust your first impression. Because the version of you who does that small bit of math isn't being uptight or overly analytical. They're just the one person in the store who's actually comparing real prices, instead of comparing the first digit their brain noticed first.